Well, hello and welcome back to the Daily Brew, the devotional where every day we drink a new brew of coffee and we see what God is brewing for us in the Bible. Yes, it's cheesy, but it's true. And today is a monumentous day. We have reached day 60 on our devotional journey. Congratulations, 60 days of Bible reading. And today we continue on here in Auckland City as where you join me. And we continue on seeking out what God has for us in the Bible. So let's have a look at our devotional scriptures for today. They're in the descriptions as always. Proverbs 6, 12 to 19, Mark 10, 32 to 52, and Leviticus 5, 14, 7 to 10. So those are our scriptures for today. Before we go any further though, let's talk brews. And today, on day 60, I thought I'd give another try to our friends at Robert Harris. Obviously, the last time round, if you can remember, if you can cast your mind back, you will remember it didn't go well. But I thought, what better flavor or what better packaging to try than the gold one? Okay, so I've gone for Robert Harris Arabica Gold. Now, this is 100% Arabica beans grown at a high altitude to, what does it say? To deliver a delicate sweetness and intensity. So I'm looking for a delicate sweetness and intensity from this coffee, and I've gone with our Chemex for today, which I can tell you what we did. We did 20 grams of coffee beans, 300 grams of water, and we extracted it like that. So that's how we made our Chemex today. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that sweetness. What does it say? It's the sweet intensity. I'm looking for an intense sweetness, which, look, could mean anything. But let's give this a go today, and let's see if Robert Harris can redeem themselves on today's brew. Do you know what? It's what it says it does on the packet. It is sweet. As a coffee, it's a lot nicer than the other one we tried. This is nice. This is good. I actually don't mind this, actually, to be honest. It still has, I don't know what that is, but it's like it's a gritty taste. But then it's got it's gritty, and then it has a sweetness that comes in. It's interesting. I definitely think in terms of redeeming itself, it has redeemed itself, Robert Harris, on the last time round. So I don't know if I'd go as far to say as to recommend this as a coffee, but it's a lot better than the last Robert Harris. So there you go. Arabica Gold, strength 4. It's sweet and intense with a bit of a gritty feel. So there you go. Do with that what you want. But let's get into the Bible for today, day 60 on our devotional journey. The reality is, I don't know about you, but it's really hard to fully comprehend the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. When we can understand the cross, understand the sacrifice Jesus made, we see more in the supernatural than we ever did before. Our eyes become open to the reality of who God is and what God has done for us. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be blind as a Christian. I don't want to have the Savior save me and still have my eyes closed. Today, I want to have a look at these scriptures, and I want to have a look at how these passages signify the death of Jesus so that we can have our eyes opened and see more than we've ever seen before. In Proverbs, we see how God reacts to sin. Now, why this is important is it's important to understand God's perspective when it comes to sin so that we can fully understand the importance of the sacrifice of Jesus for us. The proverb states here that God detests sin. He hates it. God is love, but he's also just and holy. And the sin that is listed here today causes huge amount of damage to not just our own lives, but to the lives of everyone involved. When we see that God hates sin, it's a different kind of hate to the hate that we would have. Human hate is laced with pettiness and hypocrisy. But God's hate is a holy hate. And it's all towards the evil that sin is based in. When we realize the gravity of God's hate towards sin that led to Jesus and the cross, the only proper response that we can have is to turn to God and run to him in prayer for forgiveness and for help. Have you ever been asked a blunt question, like a forward question, very bluntly? I have. It catches you out. It makes you think about your answer and second guesses what you were saying. Jesus asks these kind of questions twice today in our passage in Mark, once to the disciples and then again to blind Bartimaeus. The question that he asks is, what do you want me to do for you? Do you really want to see? This is a question I'm asking you. Do you really want to see? You can't be successful and on mission for God unless you are willing to actually see what's really happening. Turning a blind eye to situations is not helpful. It's not God honoring. It's God's desire that you and I would see. The disciples struggled to see why Jesus needed to die, that it would be some sort of disaster if they should have seen what was planned. Sorry, let me say that again. It's God's desire that we would see. The disciples struggled to see why Jesus needed to die. It would have been some sort of disaster to them. That's what they saw. But they should have seen that it was planned and prophesied about long before they were even involved, but they couldn't. They could only see that it was a disaster. Jesus saw it for exactly what it was. In fact, in Mark, this is the most detailed gospel account of Jesus explaining the death and resurrection out of all four gospels. When we read it, we need to open our eyes to the intention that Jesus had about it. Not only that, but to the reality of the triumph that it would end in for us as Christians. Jesus' eyes were wide open. He had a clear understanding of his own purpose, and he said clearly that he had come to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. One of the key things that we see and we need to see in Jesus is that he is a substitute for you and for me. In Mark 10:45, this word is for a Greek word that means in place of. Jesus died in place of you and for me. Isaiah 53 talks about how the Messiah would suffer in our place. Jesus is our substitute, which is so important for us to understand. We should have been punished for our sin. We should have died. We should have suffered. We should be separated from God, but Jesus subbed us out and took it all on his own shoulders for us so that we could be set free. Jesus, he asked blind Bart what he wanted, and he cried out for mercy to let him see. Our prayer should be every day, God, open my eyes to see you fully. Help me fully understand what you did for me on the cross. Open my eyes. Let me see. If we're going to have our eyes open, then we're going to need to understand the Old Testament as much as we do the New Testament. As a new Christian, I used to look at the Old Testament as the old news. The word old doesn't make it look super attractive, right? However, as we look at the Old Covenant and we begin to understand the lengths that God went to try and reconcile us back to him, our eyes are opened to the full weight of the cross. Jesus was the guilt offering referenced here in Leviticus. Without the guilt offering, we would not have the forgiveness of sins and be made whole again. Jesus sacrificed his body so mine didn't have to be, so yours didn't have to be. I'm guilty of the sin. I deserve to have my body broken and beaten for my transgressions, but Jesus stood in my place. He made it totally possible to be forgiven and to step into wholeness with him. It's when we fully accept this and we fully grasp this fact that we begin to experience the life in all its fullness that God desires us to experience.
3, 2,
Verse of the day. Yes, Mark 10:37, let's have a look at the verse of the day. They replied, let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory. Jesus has just given the disciples a question. He asked them, what do you want me to do for you? And the disciples responded with, give us position. At this point, I'm not sure their eyes were fully open to the whole thing Jesus was here to do. When we want to use Jesus for our positioning, we're wanting to abuse Jesus for selfish ambition. My heart, I pray, would be Jesus, embrace me, love me, accept me. And that is it for today, day 60. That is it. Woo! 60 days, we are done and dusted for 60 days. Congratulations, 60 days of Bible reading. We are continuing on. We are almost in 200 odd days to go, which means the year too is going by very fast. But don't worry, 365 days in the year, 60 days done, 305 to go. I'm excited to continue pulling out what God is speaking to us about in this word. I pray that as you do, you would feel boldened to share with me what God is saying. I'd love to hear in the comment section on YouTube and also on the social media DMs as well. Take a moment and maybe screenshot this, share this podcast, share the video with someone who you think would enjoy it. Put it on your social media and tag me as well at Harry Slade NZ. I'd love to hear what God is doing in your life. But that is it for day 60. Come back tomorrow, day 61, for a new coffee and for a new daily brew of coffee and whatever God is speaking to us about. That's it. Wrap it up, Harry. Bring it to a close. Thanks so much. If it's the start of your day, have a great rest of your day. If it's the end of your day, though, have a great sleep. Sleep tight, and we'll see you tomorrow back here on the Daily Brew. I'm surprised with this Robert Harris. It's not bad.